So strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Matrix, and Whisperer.
Yes, g'day guys and welcome back to the Insight NRL Show. We're here for Round 4's Insight Unlimited Q&A, of course brought to you by Insight Unlimited. On the SC Brain and SC Whisperer is with me for the first time for the Q&A this year so far. Mate, it's funny how one piece of news can literally change every single trade you thought you had set.
Yeah, we were supposed to record 15 minutes ago, but we were sitting here discussing the Shaun Johnson goal-kicking news and potentially Cam Munster being back next week as well. So one small piece of news can potentially undo a week of trade plans. But, yeah, we'll cross that bridge because we do have a couple of questions about Cleary today, who is the hot topic. So I'm sure there's some alternatives that will come up today. Yeah,
that's right. Very quickly, guys, if you want to become an Insight Unlimited member and get your questions answered on this podcast every single week, all you need to do is jump inside the Discord. It's only $25 for the full year, and you get access to our last-minute trades, our team's advice, inside the Discord Q&As and everything else. So that's just not NRL, that's NBL, BBL, AFL, as well as NBA if you're a fantasy NBA player. So all of that for $25 for the full year. So jump in the Discord if you want to get involved. Now, let's dive into these questions, mate. It's what we're here for. So we've got a few so far around Cleary, but we'll start with one that isn't Cleary-based, and it's from Hanko. So for everybody on YouTube, you can see these questions on the screen. Hanko's asking KPP or Samuela Fainu for 2RF, which seems to be a pretty hot topic this week, Josh. He's kind of feeling KPP will score more points, but Fino's going to earn more cash. How do you look at this one?
Yeah, I think it comes down to a team structure thing. Like, if you don't need to play Fainu this week, then I'd prefer to get him in because he does have the second lowest break even this week at a -32. So even with a 40, it's still a projection of nearly 100k price rise. And I think we discussed this on Tuesday that if he just pumps out 40s between now and like round 16, he's going to make you just under 200k. So if you don't need the player, then obviously Fainu for the cash grab. But I think KPP's got 60 points in him most weeks in terms of average. We discussed his attacking upside. It's going to get better. He's going to find those offloads close to the line and probably start racking up try assists. I'm still huge on him, and the fact that you can get him for under 400k is massive for what I think could be a genuine like 2RF5 at the end of the season.
Yeah, we've talked highly on KPP, haven't we, all season? And in the preseason as well, just on his role. And now, obviously, with the bench makeup there for the Knights, it is promising for him and his minutes. It looks like they've trusted him with 80 the last couple of weeks at least. He did have that low score where I think he scored like 39 in 80 minutes or something, but the two games either side of that, he's bounced back and played well with a good PPM. So I think you can probably trust KPP to start. Dr. Hamo is asking us, is Jerome Hughes the best halfback behind Nico until Cleary is back? And I guess now that news has kind of come out, it's a question of is it Hughes or is it Shaun Johnson as the pick?
I mean, to answer the question 20 minutes ago, yes. But obviously, the news dropped this morning out of NZ that SJ has been back goal kicking this week, did have a twinge in his groin, which is what we suspected. I didn't imagine him just dropping the goal kicking for no reason. But yeah, had a twinge a few weeks ago and they put him on ice. The problem with SJ is he hasn't scored well even with the goal kicking. Had a 66 in round 1 against the Sharks, but 26 and 47, even if we give him another 8 to 10 points, it's not a huge uptick. Does have a pretty big break even as well. So I'm pretty happy just to give him a week and watch. Then the debate becomes like, do you hold Cleary and sell Hines next week, or do you go early and sell Cleary this week? We were looking at a little bit of halfback roulette, and it looks like SJ has the Roosters and the Panthers in 10 and 11, and then the Dolphins in 13 in the bye, whereas Nico doesn't have the bye in 13. So you can pretty much, what I think might be the play is to hold Nico this week, hold Cleary this week, sell Nico to SJ next week, run those two until probably round 10 or round 11, and then just flip back to Nico for that pretty golden run. I think he has the Titans and the Dolphins back-to-back weeks or something like that in like 13 and 14. So have a look at your structures. But, I mean, I probably have Hughes as 2 now behind SJ. But in saying that, Hughes is also getting back Munster next week, gets back Nelson Asif-Solomona as well. So a full-strength Storm side is really good. And we know from our Ryan Pappenhausen analysis that his draw opens up at about round 8. So I don't like to fence it. I'd probably go Hughes just based off the fact that there's no injury concerns there with him and probably in a slightly better team.
Yeah, and we look at the Melbourne draw as well. I mean, they've got the Broncos after their bye this week in round 5, and then they've got the Bulldogs. Then they've got Sydney Roosters, which is probably the only hard game they've got between 6 and 13. You've got Souths, Gold Coast, Sharks and Para, who are all known to leak points, and then Manly, who are very well known to leak points as well. And obviously, like you mentioned, if Storm are fully fit, Jerome Hughes is probably going to be playing his best footy. Coming off an 88 as well before he got suspended last week, and I think he had a try assist and 2 line break assists in that game and a ton of evade points as well. So, yeah, I'm probably still a Jerome Hughes fan. It's just that lure of Shaun Johnson kicking. So that becomes the question.
The thing with Hughes is as well, like he does miss 2 of the 3 major bye rounds, but they're sort of sandwiched. So it's 13 and 19. So it's not like you're having the structure broken up. But in between that origin period, it's the Knights, the Warriors, the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Tigers. So it's a pretty golden run in the middle of that origin period for Hughes too.
Yep. Yeah, good shout. And I guess Hamo's second question here was when Cleary comes back and Nico's form potentially is the same, would you go Nico to Hughes? And I think we probably answered that already. That this might be the play to just hold on to Cleary this week. You get another look, and then next week when Nico's on the bye, you can move to one of these other options. And it also gives you an option to have a look at Shaun Johnson another week with 133 break even. He's going to drop a fair bit of cash unless he has a blinder. We get to see whether he's goal kicking. And then we get another look at him, and obviously with Hughes back after the bye, you get that choice there too. So that's probably the way I'd be leaning, is to sell Nico over Cleary next week.
I think Nico has a very similar break even this week as well. So the cash generation or the cash droppage from both of them is not going to be as bad as you
kind of cancels it out.
So just looking at Nico, he's got a break even of 121. So the cash drop from both of them, and I would say Nico's floor is a lot better than SJ's. So SJ's probably going to drop more cash than Nico this week. So it definitely is probably worth just waiting and seeing, because there's no guarantee that he kicks. It's just spoken about that he has been kicking at training this week and he has dealt with a groin niggle. So just get confirmation that he is kicking first, because you'd hate to trade him in and him just not have the tee still.
Yeah, that's right. I guess maybe to round out the Hines and Cleary questions here, Hanko's thinking of holding both and just taking an automatic AE in round 5 when Hines is obviously on the bye and Cleary's out injured. Crazy move, just copping an AE like that, or do you hold the 2 best halfbacks in Supercoach?
No, I discussed this with you last night. I gave you all my AEs, and I said, look, I'll have Willison, Joe Chan, Lockie Galvin, Ethan Strange, and Blaze Talangi. Like, they're not the worst AEs to have. So there's definitely a world where I just save the trade, because I want both of them eventually, and just cop the AE. I think our depth's going to be tested anyway. Like, you're going to be having to play probably your 19th or 20th man anyway, with all these injuries we've got. So why not just take the AA? Like, it's not going to be a huge difference. You may maybe lose 3 or 4 points, so it's not the end of the world. And I'd rather lose 3 points and save a trade for a certified gun. And like, the only issue I've got with selling Nico or Cleary is the temptation, because a lot of people are going to a Val Holmes or a Dom Young or a Ruben Garrick, and what happens when they go really well, and then you've got Nathan Cleary up against the Tigers in round 7. You're like, well, I need him. Where can I get 900k from? Because the temptation is, if you sell, you're going to spend that money, and then you don't want to move off the asset that you just bought either.
100%. Yeah, well said. All right, not a Nico or Cleary question. From Edge, who would be the priority trade out between Brendan Piakura and Su'a Wong? Obviously, Wong's out of the rotation. Piakura is injured and back round 8. What do you think on this one? For me, I'd probably say that the injured player might be the priority get out, but again, Wong is probably more expensive than Piakura, so it depends if you want to use that cash.
Yeah, I'd probably side with Wong just because he's 50k more expensive. It just frees up more funds. You've always got the like, what am I trying to say? The dilemma of him being named on the bench, coming on for a 20-minute cameo. His break even is 31, so it's not like it's still 15. I'd rather just cash in. You know that Piakura is not going to lose you cash. You know, come game day, you're not going to get the alert from Wacko saying that Piakura has been moved to the bench, whereas you still could with Wong. I doubt that happens, but it's always the dilemma. I also think he's more expensive, so it's probably just better to save yourself the headache. And Piakura, like, if anything happens, if you get another injury next week or the week after, you know that you've got a man coming back in 4 weeks who has an 80-minute role.
Yeah. Feels a bit like Spencer Leniu, where like he's just going to sit there on the bench and do nothing for you, and he's going to be back in your team, and you didn't have a chance to trade him out.
Yeah.
All right. Perp, how valuable, I should say, are boosts? Is it worth boosting early for a low price guy with cash gen like Fainu, or are we more valuable using them later in the season for larger trades? And I guess maybe what's the price value you would put on a boost? Because, I mean, we've talked about double boosting back-to-back weeks, which we could still do this week. So how do you play your boost? Because I think, we've had boosts for 2 seasons or 3 seasons now. I feel, or maybe even 4 seasons since COVID. So I've usually been a conservative booster, and I've wanted to have a couple of boosts for the back end of the season. But I think it was last year, you kind of just boosted all over the shop, and you were out of boost, I think, by Origin.
2022 was the year that I came like 120th or something. I was done by round 12. And last year I was done by round 21 and I came like 2K. So there's no correlation between boosting early and getting a good rank. I would say using 3 by round 5 is a bit much. I think 2 is fine because you probably don't have enough trades to correct the mistakes that you made in the preseason. So I think using 2 early is fine. It's just about what you're doing with them. I wouldn't be just boosting for the sake of picking up. Like, I'm seeing people boost for Solomon Fa'atape, and you ask them why, and they're like, oh, well, he'll make cash. And I don't think that's a good enough reason. Like, I am boosting this week, and I'm bringing in Blaze Talangi, but it's only out of necessity to facilitate 2 other moves. So I think that's the better way to look at it, is if you can use your third trade if you can get off 2 stinkers and an injured player for like 2 good mid-range playable options and a cash cow, then that's probably more beneficial than just picking up someone for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the only reason I'd consider 2 to start the season is if you made a few mistakes with your starting team and you've got guys like, Gagai, or you've got a couple of DNPs on your bench that are just doing nothing for you and you need to get off a few of those for depth. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I definitely agree. Don't just throw them around for no reason just because you want a player that's going to make you 40K this week.
And we also will have ways next week on fixing some of this deadwood. Xavier Willison, Blaze Talangi as well. Like, we've got guys that can come in that can fix up this deadwood, so there's no need to waste a boost on it. You can just make 2 trades next week and clean up some of those DNPs. Like a Leniu to a Willison might be a very popular trade next week, or a Sam Hughes jumping off him at his peak being all of 40K. So, that's a move that could happen. And just, save yourself the necessity. You definitely want some, if you're competing for overall, you definitely want some for round 27. That's the one non-necessity for me. Is always keep 1 for 27 because half the teams get rested. And then obviously having 1 during Origin is nice because I think we go from 3 trades to 4 in the major buy rounds, and then we can boost to 5. So definitely worth considering there.
Yeah, I like having 2 up my sleeve for Origin. Usually I'm someone that attacks Origin scheduling pretty heavily. So I try and usually I'm never in the top 1K by round 13, but I usually make a fair move through the Origin period when everybody else gets caught off guard. So that's kind of just the way I play though. So if you want to go hard and get your team set and try and attack the rankings really early, then use a couple to set yourself up. I always have 1 for the run home as well. So agree with you on that. Matty Granger, he doesn't want to pick up Hines before his buy. So SJ, DCE or Hughes. We've said Hughes out of Hughes and Johnson. But is DCE a candidate? For me, I don't think he is, only purely because I think that Luke Brooks has taken a fair bit of workload away from DCE, and obviously the kicking and some of the tackle 5 options go to Brooks as well. So that's probably the way I'd look at it. Do you agree?
I'm just trying to work out what his halfback structure is. If you don't want to pick up, so obviously if you don't want to pick up Hines, you're selling Cleary. So I'm just trying to work out who Moses, like Cleary Moses, maybe. Yeah, could be. Probably go early on Johnson. Like if that's a situation, like if you have Cleary and Moses, I know in a perfect world we said let's just wait on SJ, but I would probably just have to go early and bite the bullet on him, considering the draw and the upside and the historical value that he's presented.
Yep. Yeah, fair enough. All right, Jacko, would you recommend going sideways Jacob Gagai to Blaze Talangi this week? Now, we've said, obviously, you can wait on Talangi next week, but and this isn't even a cash generation opportunity, this is a sideways trade to get off enough. I don't know whether I'd make that move this week. I don't see any sort of benefit in going your DNP player to Talangi unless you're stuck with 3 centre wing active players and you need a 4th active player this week. I think that's a move for next week. Do you agree?
Yeah, I've got to choose my wording carefully here because I'm bringing in Talangi this week, but it's not out of want, it's out of need.
You're not playing him though, are you?
No. He's sitting at Centrelink 7 or Centrelink 6 with Gagai. It depends. Like if you're boosting, then no, I don't think so. Just because it offers nothing. You're not making any money out of that trade. You're not making any money this week at all with cash gen. So I'd probably say wait if you can. But like Braino said, if you're forced to, like if he has to come in and be your center wing 4, then of course get the playable number there. But it seems fine just to wait a week on it.
Last thing you want is someone to go early on Blaze Talangi, cops an injury. Hopefully he doesn't, but that's happened in the past before, hasn't it?
Tommy Talau 2.0. Like a lot of people went early on Tommy Talau, who unfortunately dislocated his heel, and it's like, dislocated his ankle and the heel bone. And it's like that's the worst case scenario. And I understand the risk that I'm taking doing it, but I wouldn't just be doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, it's got to facilitate another big move.
Obviously, the Tigers are going to win 45-0, and he might get dropped. So that's a dilemma that you face as well. Like maybe it's a performance thing. And
you've got guys like Ryan Madison who have played 5'8" a lot in the past, that easily BA could come in and just shuffle things up an hour before kickoff, and you see Blaze Talangi end up in the 14 jersey or something, which honestly with BA would not surprise me in the slightest that something like that happens.
No, I mean, he did pick Jake Arthur like multiple weeks and just never played him. Like he just ran a three rotation off the bench. So yeah, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. Anyway, wait a week on that. Agent Cheese wants to know between Seyfarth to KPP and either Burbo or Gagai to Blaze Talangi this week, who's the one that has to be traded first to then facilitate trade next week?
I mean, 8 days ago, I would have said Seyfarth, but he probably has a decent enough break even after his performance on the weekend. I'm just trying to pull up his player profile.
Yeah, his break even's 3. He's only played 22 minutes in round 1 and 31 minutes last week, and obviously he got that try and a fuckload of evade stats.
I'm not playing him. I'm not playing him at all. But like, if that was a priority trade, I'd rather just keep Seyfarth for another week, get another 35, 40k out of him, and then shift him on. I mean, if you have to play, if you're short on numbers, then obviously getting KPP in because he's a genuine, option to play. And I don't hate. I'd probably sell Gagai to Blaze, not Burb. Like Burber's got a 38 break even, but he has a nice enough matchup that you could play him if you had to. So I'd probably say Gagai to Blaze is more of a priority. But if you need to play KPP, if you need to play Seyfarth, go the other way.
If you needed cash, would Burbo to Blaze this week, if you weren't planning on playing Burbo, be an option, considering what's his break even? I think it's like 39 or something?
38. I mean, someone on this podcast has done that exact move, so I can't really say no, can I?
Fair.
KPP's break even is also 3. So this, I'm not saying this is the last week to get on him because I think he's a 60 average, so you can get on him whenever. But he is 390 at the moment. If he pumps out a 60 on the weekend, you're up to 450. And it's like, he's still a great buy, but it's like, I could have got him at 350 2 weeks ago, or I could have got him at 390 last week. When you're faced with the proposition of doing it now. So the cash difference between Seyfarth and KPP in terms of generation this week probably still sides with Piers Paul. I think he still makes more despite being a higher price.
Yep. Troz is asking, second last one, if you have both Cleary and Hines need the cash from one of them to fund fixes elsewhere, which do you sell? We've kind of already answered this. Probably just hold a week and sell Hines to hold Cleary. I mean, there's rumours that Cleary could be back as early as next week as well before the bye. I know it's a slim chance, but there is a chance.
I think if there was no bye in round 6, he plays next week. Like if they had a bye in like round 10, I think we'd see Cleary name next week.
Yeah, and there's obviously there's been a couple of questions. There's absolutely no risk in Cleary missing the Tigers matchup after the bye either. Considering he's that close to playing next week, it wouldn't make sense for them to just be safe against a bad team, because I think the Panthers have a fucking point to prove against the Tigers after we knocked them off last year. I reckon they're going to come out pretty hard.
We always just seem to either match up with them during Origin when they're depleted, or we just pull out some bullshit in Bathurst like we did last year.
Yeah, we just need a rain dance of some sort, so it just torrential rains on the same day, and we could have the advantage. Who knows? Last one, we got C Moose is asking, why is there not a lot of love for Josh Kerr from the Dolphins? Same base as KPP and 50k cheaper with a negative 23 break even. Tricky one. For me, I think maybe people are just scared away from the bench role, which we've talked about a number of times over and over. But, I mean, he has been good, Josh Kerr. If we look at his minutes that he's played, even off the bench, He has played 40 minutes in game one where he scored a 76 with a try. And then last week, no try and no real attacking stats at all. And he got 48 in 45 minutes. So the PPM is there for Josh Kerr. What are your thoughts on him? I don't know whether I'm keen. I probably still would prefer KPP playing 80. We know the Knights are going to click at some point. Surely something's going to come from that.
Yeah, I also just worry about the minutes because there's been injuries in the first two games. I think in round one, there was the Colin Lemuelu injury. And then there was an injury in
Gilbert as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was Gilbert. There was Lemuelu. I think there was one other one against the Dragons as well. Don't quote me. I'm quietly confident there was, and that was the reason why I haven't jumped on. But I mean, yeah, the PPM's great. It's just like you're paying, what is he, 380?
350.
350 for what, 43 points, 44 points? So it's like
so what's
nine
that? 80, 90k? Yeah.
And then obviously, and then the problem is that 70 drops out quickly. Like that's the first score to drop out. So the cash gen will be stunted a little bit there when you can just get a KPP or, yeah.
And
a semi
I'd say
Fanu who's cheaper, who's probably going to make more money.
I'd say the peak of his price is probably that mid to even at best late 400s based on the way that he's trending at the moment. Even if his minutes stay exactly the same at a 1 ppm, I don't see him playing more than 45 minutes in this rotation. So let's just say best case scenario, he plays 45, he scores you 45 roughly on average. He's going to top out at probably that 460 mark anyway. So you're basically using a trade to make 100k from here.
Yeah, and Semi Fanu will top out at 435k in round 14, assuming he scores 41 points every single week. And if you can get that same production for 263k compared to 350, I'd just rather take Semi Fanu purely for cash gen. I think I'm pretty happy just to forget about front row forward. I've got Terame and Henry, and I've got a nice Josh Curran sitting here at 2RF. And once round 6 rolls around, he's straight up. So I'm pretty happy just to not buy any of these dud semi-cheapy front row forwards because it just hasn't worked out well for me with Spencer Leniu, Jai Arrow.
And yeah, and I guess, look, even though he is dual, you're never playing him at 2RF. So it's a front row forward option or nothing, which yeah, I completely agree. I think I've still got Spencer Leniu there, which shows everybody how valuable I think front row forward is when we can rely on playing Liam Henry every single week now, at least for the short term.
Stud, absolute stud.
Gun, absolutely.
53, the most boring points coming tonight.
And I'm fine with locking and loading on 53 when I'm paying 204k at the start of the year for him, so that's not an issue.
It's so different, isn't it? Like people are like, oh, so why can Morgan Smithies get 50 points doing nothing, but Liam Henry can get 50 points? And you love that because I'm like, well, he's 130k cheaper. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You'd much rather a bit of boringness in the situation there.
Yeah, and he might be boring at 300 to 400k very soon, and we kind of get less excited about that because that's what we're paying for. So, yeah, lots of changes. Give yourself 4 or 5 weeks and the narrative changes a little bit. But that is the end of the questions. Guys, obviously, if you do want your questions answered on this podcast every week, you can become an Insight Unlimited member for $25 and we'll get your questions answered. You'll also get exclusive access to all the channels in the Discord every week. Expert chat, you've got an unlimited chat there where all the unlimited members chatting, talking about their teams, captains, vice captains, asking for our thoughts as well.
Whatever you think of in terms of a topic, there's a chat for it. So, and there's a massive community in there. We're always in there. We might not answer every question, but if you tag us, we definitely will because we have our notifications off. But just hit us with a ping and we'll answer pretty much anything. We even had a question about Kieran Foran last night. So there's all kinds of debates happening in the Discord.
Yeah, some interesting ones, that's for sure. But yeah, so jump in the Discord, obviously hop in our DMs if you don't know how or need a bit of direction in how to sign up. But that'll do us for this one. Good luck this week, guys. We will be back on Monday for the wrap-up this week instead of Sunday. Last game on Monday, Easter Monday. So we'll see you live Monday night to wrap it all up. And good luck this weekend. Have a good one.
Cheers.